Good morning. Well, sort of a happy daylight savings time day. Some thief stole an hour in the night, and I want it back. All right. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Northern Nevada, aka UUFNN, where it's our mission to grow together in love, faith, justice, and joy. It is our vision, intention, and faith that by being and working together, we can bring about justice and build a compassionate community. It's always a joy to greet each of you, either in person or on Zoom, for a time of reflection and introspection. All are welcome to be part of us regardless of racial identity, ethnic background, age, economic circumstance, educational achievement, judicial history, immigration status, sexual orientation, or gender identity. UUFNN is about compassion and support, not judgment. I'm Bill Miller, pronouns he, him, his, personal passions, climate change, and social justice. It's my pleasure to serve as your worship associate this morning for our continuing exploration of UU principles and values. Today's topic is on right relationships within our community and will be led by our own Billie Dunford-Jackson. Once again, this morning's service is a multi-platform event combining in-person and online, coming to you live from outside and inside the UUFNN Great Room. That means it's complicated and things can go wrong, so be patient. If this is your first time visiting us, welcome. We're glad to have you join us. If you're online, feel free to contact the office or our website for more information. You can also click on the link to the Zoom chat box to fill out the newcomer form and sign up for our newsletter that will keep you informed of all our activities. If you're here in person, please see one of us to help get you to someone who can give you that information. Regrettably, COVID still lingers in the shadows, so if you're here in person, please follow the remaining safety protocols. Be sensible, wear a K95 or equivalent mask. If you brought a beverage, it's usually best to remove your mask before sipping from it, but just remember to put it back in place when you're done. Don't crowd the restrooms. If you're moved to sing along, don't. Just mumble behind your mask. That's the obnoxiously restrictive news. The good news is we can hug each other again, so it's not just trees anymore. Zoomers, please note you can update your name on screen, which helps everyone know who you are. Although you will be muted, you can use the chat box for comments, especially during the prayer and meditation sessions. But hey, play nice and refrain from posting announcements while folks like, say, me, are presenting. Following the service, should it ever begin, you Zoomers can join in small virtual groups for coffee hour and visit virtually face-to-face. If you're here in person, you can mingle at will wherever you like. Again, I'm Bill Miller, your worship associate for today's service. Thank you again for being with us this morning and enduring my litany of rules, regulations, and procedures. That's it. Let the service begin. The service begins with Khalil Gibran. Give your hearts, but not into each other's keeping. For only the hand of life can contain your hearts. And stand together, yet not too near together, for the pillars of the temple stand apart, and the oak tree and cypress grow not in each other's shadow. And now JJ will join me for the chalice lighting.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to speak the truth in love, and to help one another.
Wait a minute. Let me start this again, please. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of living, ours is no caravan of despair. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of living, ours is no caravan of despair. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come.
I just realized I forgot to mention that you could light your own chalices at home. I told you there would be technical difficulties. As most of you are aware, over the last several Sundays, we've been exploring what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist, our principles, our work for justice and dignity in the community, and our support of each other. This morning, I'm pleased to welcome David Sherry, first via video, then in person, to share his story of what it has meant to him to be a part of this community. Let's start with the video.
My name is David Shirey, and the reason why I joined UUFNN is well known in the congregation. I came to this town, Reno, because my parents lived here, and they wanted some help. My mother was having some illness problems, so I moved to Reno. I was happy to do that. I'd visited Reno before. They'd been here for 20 years, and I loved this town. So I came here and I helped them out, but after they'd both died by 2011, I went into a depression. And in fact, I was in a mental hospital. I was very sick. I was very depressed. And my sister came to town to help take care of me once I got out. And she said, you know what you need is you may need a community of faith or a church that you can go to. I said, I've looked at the churches in Reno and they're all way too conservative. I can't find anything that's for me. She looked online and she said, well, there's this place called UUFNN. She says it's a Unitarian Universalist, and they look pretty interesting. And I said, great, but what's a Unitarian? And she said, well, let's give it a try. So I came here for my first service that same week. And I was on my medication. I was still in therapy. My ears were plugged up. We were still balancing the meds. And I couldn't see very well. But I came in and I heard the minister say, we welcome everyone here, including lesbian, gay, transgender, bisexual, those people who don't often get a sincere welcome at other churches. And as a straight, white, older, cisgender, as I said, heterosexual male, I thought to myself, this would be a very interesting place to come to because maybe I can learn something new. And sure enough, UUFNN has been my sanctuary, if you'll pardon the term. And I often tell my sister and brother, because my brother also took care of me when I was sick, they helped save my life after my breakdown. But it's UUFNN that has given me a reason to live. And so I find this the place where I can be understood, where I can share things with others, where I'm not judged. I try not to judge others. And as we say, we don't all have to think alike to love alike.
Well, that was me. And there's not much more I can add except that, interestingly enough, this last week, I was at the archery range and I met a transgendered person, and they seemed to be in search of friendship. And so I invited them to lunch. And so I'm hoping when we have the chance to have lunch, we can talk about respect and love for ourselves and for others. And I can tell them how much UUFNN has been a safe haven for me, excuse me, to really thrive and to share my true self and my honest feelings. And that maybe they could check us out for themselves if they wanted to. Because I want them to know that whatever time or talent or treasure that I give to UUFNN, it is nothing compared to what UUFNN gives back to me. So now the PSA. I completed my pledge paperwork last month. And I would urge anyone else who has not done so to do the same now, so that UUFNN can plan for the coming fiscal year with confidence. Being a part of this fellowship is everything to me. I will continue to support UUFNN financially and otherwise for as long as I am able. And I hope that you will consider doing so as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Yes, we do not want to incur the wrath of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Finance Committee. After 2 years wandering in the COVID desert, I'm pleased to say we are returning to our traditional offering ritual during the service, if we can remember how. We'll be passing the baskets for your donations to help keep the lights on and the cameras running. If you're following virtually, please text 73256, that's 73256. Type in UUFNN in the message box and hit send. Or you can also mail a check to the office at 780 Del Monte Lane, 89511. Today's Share the Plate recipient is Northern Nevada Hopes, a nonprofit dedicating to providing primary health care to those who otherwise would not have access: undocumented immigrants, unemployed or underemployed people, the homeless, uninsured, and underinsured. Hopes is there to make sure that they have access to quality health care on an affordable sliding fee scale. Let the baskets begin. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, David. So we end with our, am I supposed to take the money?
No.
I'm happy to.
I didn't know if we were doing the blessing with the work of this fellowship.
We are. We are. Those technical problems, I warned you. To the work of this fellowship, which is helping more people grow in love, faith, justice, and joy, we dedicate ourselves, and these are offerings.
Good morning. For the last 5 Sundays, we've been thinking and talking about what it means to be UU. Today, we're going to continue the conversation by focusing on the significance to our fellowship of the relationships we develop among us. Relationships are, of course, fundamental to human experience. We're all social animals. To some degree, we all need to belong. But is there something even more foundational than that about UUers' needs for relationships? Stan and I have been members of the UUFNN for 5 years. We came here in search of like-minded people who share our basic worldview and our priorities. In my experience, and I expect in yours, every time you engage with other UUers about this topic, you hear them include, as one of their top reasons for being a UU member, a search for relationships with like-minded other people. We hear every Sunday that we are not alone, that we're in this together, that we can achieve more together than we can individually, that we have promised to help each other grow in love, faith, justice, and joy. You can say it with me. That we are part of that great web of life through which all living things are connected. We are united not by a common doctrine, not by some agreement about a superior being to whom we all pay obeisance, not by creeds, but by our need for each other and the work we can do together to make our world better for each one of us, for our community, and for all of society. Is it any wonder, then, that a concern for building and maintaining relationships is of crucial importance to us individually and as a fellowship? Shortly after we joined the fellowship in 2018, Stan and I and several other members joined together to travel to Arizona to spend time in the borderlands, learning about the experiences of those who had crossed into the U.S. in that region, and hearing from those who offer services to the undocumented members of the community there. This was our first experience really interacting with a group of UUers. In fact, it was the first time we'd even laid eyes on some of the members of the group. Many of you have heard various ones of us share of our experiences from that trip, and probably have noted a special bond among those of us who were together there. But there was one experience I don't expect you have heard about, and for me it is emblematic of the reliance upon one another that we in this fellowship are seeking. I shared this with the permission of Stan, who shortly before this trip had been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. One of the events planned for us was a hike into rough, hilly desert terrain filled with cacti and other treacherous flora, and a few treacherous fauna as well, to drop water at locations known to be crossing spots for incoming migrants. Not too long into the hike, Stan found himself in serious trouble. all of a sudden his legs wouldn't work. There seemed to be no connection between his brain and his lower extremities. We learned later from his neurologist that his system had exhausted its supply of dopamine, the messenger between brain and legs, and he now carries extra meds with him. But at the time, the best he could do was find a shady spot to sit and rest with a water bottle for company and wait for the others to complete their rounds and drop their catches of water, and then return to help him back to the parking lot, roughly half a mile away. When the drops were complete and the team ready to head back, the members split up duties to get Stan back safely, and it happened like clockwork, just automatically. Nobody had to say anything or give instructions. Some of the members forged ahead, clearing debris out of the way. Some held Stan's arms and helped guide him over boulders and down a twisty, narrow path. A few took turns behind him, holding him up by the waistband of his shorts and boosting him over the boulders. The last 100 yards or so before the parking lot were covered by a tall field of reeds, too thick to see through and without a path to follow through them. Those who reached the parking lot first found a camp chair to borrow from neighbors and set it up for Stan, and then began to guide the rest of us in, singing "Lean on Me." Cry with me, Jackie, I know I'm going to. Those of us still among the reeds with Stan joined in the song, as did Stan himself, all of us heartened by the support of the whole team. For the final stretch, Stan, exhausted by trying to move forward on unresponsive legs, sank to the ground, and with the rest of the team continuing to sing with him, crawled through the remaining reeds and up the bank, where team members waiting for him there pulled him up and put him in the chair they'd arranged for him, all of us still singing "Lean on Me," and many of us in tears. I leave it to you to imagine the bonding that came from that experience. Team members literally saving the life of one of their fellows.
Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride if I have things you need to borrow, for no one can fill those of your needs that you won't let show. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. There is a load you have to bear that you can't carry. I'm right up the road, I'll share your load if you just call me. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. You just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to
to lean on. I just might have a problem that you understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, boy. It won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on.
Thank you.
Well, since we have concluded that relationships are our foundation, it seems we would be well advised to be able to do them well. Samuel Butler once observed, "Friendship is like money, easier made than kept." Given that we viewers are drawn into fellowship by common priorities, goals, and concerns, and that we share a common worldview, it may well be that it is even easier for us to form friendships. After all, great candidates are all around us all the time. But Butler's admonition is as true for us as it is for everyone else. We may find potential relationships more readily available, but we are as susceptible as anyone else to losing them. Like the precious gardens of the Spirit that they are, relationships need to be properly and firmly established and sustained by continued and dedicated nurturing. The more right the relationship, the more firmly it can be established. So what do we mean by this term, right relationships? How can we develop them? How can we stay in them? What can we expect for our fellowship if we all do manage to develop and keep them? Many of the following ideas and suggestions are drawn from the book Practicing Right Relationship by Mary K. Sellen and Daniel P. Smith. First slide. Right relations are characterized by deep, active listening and sharing, acceptance of one another without reservation and with honesty, the ability and willingness to accept equal responsibility for nurturing the relationship and to put weight on it, the courage to show each other our true selves. Sound daunting? Probably so, especially that part about showing our true selves. That's scary business. Well, there are 3 stages here. And the first of these is all about self-readiness. We would-be gardeners need to do some prep work on ourselves as a necessary precursor to the second stage, which is communicating effectively with others, honing our people skills. And if we can do those 2 things, then we'll be ready for the grand finale, forming and living the relationship. Now, about that self-help. A major barrier to developing right relations is our human tendency to observe others, draw conclusions about them and their behavior based upon our observations, and then act on these conclusions as if they're accurate, failing to recognize that our perceptions are colored by our own experiences and our own biases, or maybe not even knowing what our biases are. So this is where our work begins, with ourselves. And the work requires us to develop self-awareness. What do we mean by that? Well, being fully present, totally involved in the right here, right now, knowing what we value and knowing what we have trouble tolerating, being conscious of what our aspirations are in a potential relationship. Second thing is self-management. being able to manage our emotions, being clear-headed and open with others about our boundaries, being fully present and receptive to really listening and really hearing. And the third thing is social awareness, practicing deep listening by using good verbal and nonverbal communication skills, asking questions, using, for example, I messages instead of you messages, summarizing what we think we've heard and asking for confirmation or clarification, resisting finishing other people's sentences for them, maintaining good eye contact, nodding, leaning forward, noting the body language of the other, perhaps most importantly of all, giving each other the benefit of the doubt. When a relationship seems to hit a rough patch, asking the other party for insight rather than jumping to the conclusions you might otherwise reach without benefit of the wisdom that that insight can impart. These are the skills that will allow us to avoid viewing others through a lens clouded by our own blinding preferences, which is just a nice term for biases, that will allow us to transition to the second stage. So what are the things we can do to get us there? Well, here are some suggested steps on slide 3. At the start of every day, we can remind ourselves that the way we experience whatever awaits us in the coming hours depends to an absolutely amazing degree upon the attitude with which we enter the day. Number 2, we can be purposeful about stacking the deck in our favor by attitude adjustment at the outset. Getting up on the right side of the bed, I guess, is how you'd summarize this, but practices such as staying in the moment, practicing random acts of kindness, building into our day experiences such as exposure to nature, playing with kids or pets, making time for favorite activities, coffee with friends, meditation, exercise, whatever we know works for us. Do ourselves a favor, build it into our day. View everyone we meet with curiosity about them. What is their story? What struggles are they coping with? What brought them to this point in their lives? What brings them joy? We may not feel comfortable actually asking these questions. In fact, it may well be intrusive to do that. But just thinking in those terms transforms people from mere parts of the passing scene to real individuals. These practices open us up, make us more receptive, allow us to move fully into the second stage, which is selecting potential relationships and communicating with those other people. And further to work on the additional skills we will need in order to do our part in constructing right relationships with them, we need to develop mindfulness about what we hope for from each relationship, the values and the attitudes we hope to cultivate within it. And we need to examine with clear eyes what attributes are attracting us to this potential relationship and what we might have to let go of so we can accept the other person without reservation and honestly. In other words, we have a lot of work to do to get ready ourselves, to uphold our end, to develop and polish our relational skills so we can identify potential partners to relationships.
Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll sing a song a rose in the winter time. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me, that I might know you're mine. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me, that I might know you're mine. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll sing a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me, that I might know you're mine. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time.
So now we get to the real nitty-gritty, the third stage, constructing and nurturing the right relationship. We have honed our self-awareness, our self-management, and our social awareness. We have clarified our values and are clear about our boundaries. We've practiced listening to others without judgment. So we have a good idea about prospective candidates with whom we hope to do our relationship constructing. What comes next? Just as in any developing relationship, more talking together, more sharing experiences, getting to know each other better, becoming more willing to trust, and a huge heaping dose of willingness to take a leap of faith and show our real self. If you and your partner in the relationship have engaged in deep listening and sharing, and you can say that you accept the other without reservation and with honesty, then it's time to put weight on the relationship. Let me tell you what I mean by that. Shortly after Stan and I joined UUF&N, I became very ill through a perfect storm of the confluence of 3 otherwise fairly benevolent conditions, and ended up in the hospital for 2.5 weeks. Not anywhere near death, but finding that destination looking more attractive every day. I felt and looked completely miserable, and I acted the part. I made it crystal clear to Stan that aside from him and my health care providers, I did not want to see anybody, no exceptions. Incidentally, Reverend Karen and I have had several, well, let's call them conversations since then about my approach to that set of events. A good friend of mine who works in the healthcare field asked Stan if he could come to see me, and of course, per my instructions, met with a resounding no. He sent me a kind message of encouragement through Stan, and that was the end of it, or so I thought. But after I recovered and next had occasion to see him, he took me aside and he took me to task, and I mean in no uncertain terms. He pointed out several home truths to me. First, that by not allowing my friends to see me when they were worried about me, I denied them the chance to reassure themselves that I was going to be okay. Second, that in such situations, friends need to know that they can help, that their presence is consoling, that they are valued. Third, that I habitually offered a shoulder to lean on when my friends needed it, and by denying them the chance to do that for me, I was essentially telling them that I could be a better friend than they could. I thought long and hard for quite a while about his comments, and I came to two conclusions. The first, by considering myself the stronger of the two in every relationship, I was masking my insecurity and vulnerability. While I was sending the message to my friends that I did not trust them to accept and love me unconditionally, in reality, I was afraid I was not unconditionally lovable. I was willing to take whatever weight my partner to the relationship might need to put on it, but not to put weight on it myself. And second, my friend didn't have to risk my anger or resentment by leveling with me. He could have walked away, but he knew that if he didn't, our relationship risked suffering a drain of trust, honesty, and respect. He cared enough about the relationship to confront the hard stuff and risk the unpleasantness such a confrontation might elicit from me. He thought my behavior had been unworthy of me and that his role as my friend was to help me grow in an area where I had demonstrated a deficit. He wanted to help me be my best self. And if that isn't love, I don't know what is. By the way, after several days of reflection, I sought him out and told him those things.
How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul.
So in a right relationship, we would hope the parties can engage in deep listening and sharing, accept each other without reservation and with honesty, be willing to accept equal responsibility for nourishing the relationship and putting weight on it, show each other their true selves, and now we can add, help each other be the best people they can be. Can you imagine the impact on our fellowship if we all accepted the practice of striving to form and maintain right relationships? If we were willing to do the self-prep, to work on the self-knowledge, to attain the skills in stage 1 that would enable us to communicate, to reach out, to develop the communication skills and do the groundwork to develop relationships with others that could lead to right relationships. And then in stage 3, to devote the time, the energy, the attention to strengthening and nurturing those relationships through the years, maybe even for a lifetime. It would take work. It would take continued attention. It would take deliberate, thoughtful action every day. But the rewards to those in the relationships would be as sustaining as water in the desert to the migrants. And the rewards to the fellowship, founded as it already is on a shared core of values and a common worldview, and as it could become, founded on a deeper network of love, honesty, and openness than we have yet conceived for ourselves. Those rewards would be incalculable. We could truly realize the dream expressed by Frederick G. Gillis in A Unitarian Universalist Primer. The love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated. That love would be ours now and forever. Truly, we would become the standing stones, each of us for every one of us. May it be so.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth.
Thank you, Billie Lee. That was just amazing. A wonderful teaching and reminder for all of us and choir. Now is the time in our service for offering up your prayers and concerns in silent contemplation. If you're on Zoom, you can enter them in the chat box. Thank you for sharing this heart space. Let us now join together in our gesture of hope and connection, one hand on your heart, the other reaching out in connection. We bless these concerns with another part of Gibran's poem. Love one another, but make not a bond of love. Let it rather be moving sea between the shores of your souls. Fill each other's cup, but drink not from one cup. Give one another your bread, but eat not from the same loaf. Sing and dance together and be joyous, but let each one of you be alone, even as the strings of the lute are alone, though they quiver with the same music.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth.
It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
Thank you again for joining us. If this is your first time, you can learn more about connecting with UUFNN here, uufnn.org/ you can see. To receive our weekly email and other updates, click on the link in our contact card in the middle of the page. If you need help with Zoom or other support, or know of someone who does, or know of anyone feeling isolated who may need connection, please contact Carol Sorensen at the office at uufnn.org. After the service ends, please stay online to join our informal virtual coffee hour. You'll see an invitation appear on your screen to join a breakout room. If during coffee hour you need help, support, or questions answered, please press the Help button on your breakout room window. Everyone else, feel free to hang out, sensibly masked. And remember, hugging is still optional, but now allowed. Sadly, there's more, so listen up. Because this one is deadly serious. As I imagine all of you know, our right to vote in America is under relentless assault, even right here in Reno. The Washoe County Board of Commissioners has been considering a law to suppress the vote that would make Putin look like a piker, posting National Guard troops at the polls, eviscerating vote-by-mail opportunities, and otherwise harassing and intimidating voters, particularly, surprise, surprise, minority voters and people of color. While that initial attempt was shown the door, it will be coming back dressed in sheep's clothing on Tuesday, March 22nd, just over a week from now. We need to be there, every one of us that possibly can be. Every family member, every friend, every kindred spirit, to drive a wooden stake through this evil fascist heart. This week you'll be getting emails from UUFNN on actions you can take. Anything you see from us marked urgent, please read and act upon. Next Sunday, we will have more information and a plan of action. We need to take this creeping fascist assault on our vote very seriously. On a lighter note, figuratively and literally, my buddy Lefty Brandon came through town last month, holed up in my little recording studio, and made a satirical music video about the former guy that he titled Double Dealing Don. He wants it spread freely, so I put a little poster in the lobby where you can capture the QR code and maybe enjoy a chuckle or two between the battles.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change, alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the world. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. At this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change, alive and deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the world. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
And now let us once again join together in our gesture of hope and connection. One hand on your heart, the other reaching out in connection as we bless these concerns with our closing benediction from Rumi. In our gathering, one candle lights hundreds. We will light your path and give you courage, so you will open like a flower and join in our joyous laughter. Plant the seed of truth and watch it grow. When it spreads its branches, come sit with us. Come with us and sit under the blossoms, and your eyes will open to the secret of truth. May it be so. Namaste.